And thank you so much for being here for another great session. We're going to have a wonderful conversation today about personal leadership with Christina. I am going to pass it over to you, Christina, for an opportunity for you to introduce yourself and just set the stage for what we're going to learn today. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Nessa.
You're welcome.
Lovely. I'm going to take my camera off. A little disclaimer for me, I had connectivity issues, so I'm on 4G, and I really hope my 4G lasts for the webinar. I'm really happy to be here today, really excited to share with you a perspective, new perspectives. We're going to zoom in and we're going to zoom out and talk about our Glocal signature and whatever that means. Before we start, a little bit about myself. For those of you who don't know me, I work as a personal leadership coach, a trainer, and a coach supervisor. I'm involved with the EMCC as the president of EMCC Cyprus and a volunteer for EMCC Global, accredited at the senior level, and a very proud and happy recipient of the 2019 Coaching Award, along with Coach Arya. The most important thing about me is that I love learning and supporting others in their learning journey. So let's see what we're going to talk about today. I've embedded Aware, Awake, Arise into the webinar so that there is a structure and a flow that reflects the theme of this amazing, wonderful conference that Coach Arya is organizing. In terms of Aware, we're going to look at micro and macro. I'm not going to talk about economics, so if that rings a bell in that direction, please ignore it. We're going to take a different look at things. Then Awake, lessons from Plato. My first degree was in philosophy, and I have a huge love for philosophy. I do bring it into my work as a coach and as a trainer, as a supervisor. So I'm going to give you a bit of that wisdom that we can derive from ancient Greece and Plato. And then Arise, looking at our Glocal signature. What is that? What does it mean, and how can we find it and bring it to reality? So, Aware, from micro to macro. Micro means small, macro means big. So when we're zooming out, we look at the big picture. We look at what lies within the big picture, and we can defer what can lie ahead. In order to make plans, to strategize, to set effective, smart goals, we need to look at the big picture. And then when we zoom in at the micro, we look within ourselves. We look at our inner world. What is our reality? What are our beliefs? What are our values? What drives us forward? What rocks our boat? And look at this little symbol here. I really love this. It's the snake that eats its tail. And in ancient times, this was a symbol of immortality. It's called the Ouroboros. Ouroboros is a Greek word that means the snake that, the one that eats its tail. In ancient times, it was depicted as a snake or as a dragon. And the point is that it symbolizes our life, our death, and our rebirth in eternity. So it's a symbol of eternity, of the continuing life circle. So when we zoom out and see the big picture, and then when we zoom in and look within, in other words, when we look at the macro and then the micro, we move in a circle. So we move from one to another. We make sense of ourselves, we make sense of the world. We make sense of the world, we make sense of ourselves. And it's the perpetual cycle of life. At this point, I'd like to share a video that is very relevant to what we will talk about. Let's see. right, I hope you enjoyed that. You see, we start from ourselves and from our eyes. In the video, we started from the lady's eyes. That's a symbol, again, from ancient times. The eyes are the mirrors of our soul. So we start from the eyes and we zoom in into our body. We tune in with our body. We take a deep look into our body and all our bodies, our physical body, our emotional body, our mental body, our spiritual body. And then when we zoom out of the earth, our beautiful planet, out into the sky, out into the space, into the vastness of space, we can see patterns. And these patterns connect us all. And I want to say that I keep going back to ancient times because the drive and the strive for finding meaning and making sense of it all has been occupying humans since ancient times. It's an ever-ending journey. So in terms of starting from ourselves and going out to the universe and then coming back to ourselves, again, we see the reflection of the Ouroboros, the snake that symbolizes life, death, rebirth, and timelessness. Nature is a sage, and we have a lot to learn from nature if we look at it as such. It shows us that everything is connected. If we look on the right-hand side, we see the patterns here. We can actually see them. This is a picture of a brain cell under a microscope. And this is the death of a star. Sorry, this is in the universe, out in space. And we see exactly the same pattern. Here, the death of a star is very, very similar to the birth of a cell. For one, we need a telescope. For the other, we need a microscope. And here, a nebula, again, out in space, on the right-hand side at the bottom, we see patterns that are very, very similar to the iris of a human eye. And the Fibonacci sequence. This Fibonacci sequence is what you see here, these numbers. So in order to find the next number, we add the previous two. So if I am standing on the first one, let's say, what's behind me is 0, and what is ahead of me is 1 again. If I'm standing on the second one, what's behind me is 1 and 0. So what will be ahead is the addition of the two ones, and it gives us 2. 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, and so on. What does this mean really? What are these numbers telling us? If we apply this sequence, it gives us the Fibonacci spiral, and this is everywhere in nature. We can see here, we see it in flowers, in plants, in outer space, in seashells. Everything is connected through patterns that nature gives us as evidence of our interconnectedness. And this is something that it's like we are oblivious to it. We keep forgetting it and we keep looking for it. We keep looking for this truth of interconnectedness. Let's see a little more about these spirals. We see it in plants, in seashells. We see it in waves, in the space, in outer space, in the position a baby takes in the womb, in fingerprints, in hurricanes, in whirlpools, in storms, in space. Phi is the golden ratio. Phi refers to the Fibonacci sequence. And this is just one example of how nature shows us that everything in this universe is interconnected. And this holds answers for us. Let's see how. So, awake. I don't know if you've heard about Plato's cave. This is an allegory that, in fact, Socrates, who was Plato's teacher, was narrating to Plato's brother Glaucus, and then Plato recorded it. And it has a lot of richness. So what was happening here? We see these men were prisoners held in the cave, and they were held there since childhood. So they've been there all their lives, and they can only see what lies ahead of them. Now behind them is a fire, and some movement of some objects in between them and the fire, such that they see the shadows of these objects on the wall in front of them. So all their lives, these people are held there, and all they see are these shadows. What does that mean? That means that that is their reality. That is all they know. And they think, they truly, truly believe that they know that this is the truth. This is reality. Now, the story goes, one of these prisoners freed himself. He ran outside. He ran out of the cave. And what happened when he ran out? He was blinded by the light, by the sunlight, because he had been in the cave for years. And it took him some time for his eyesight to adjust. And slowly, slowly, he overcame the shock of blindedness, and he started seeing shadows. Then he saw reflections in the water. He saw trees. He saw flowers. He saw animals. He saw the beauty around him. And then he realized, he had an awakening. He had a big aha moment. This is reality, not the shadows of things that I've been looking at my whole life. And that prompted him to go back to the cave and free his fellow ex-prisoner. As an ex-prisoner, free his fellow prisoners and bring them out into the light. Now, what happened when he went back to the cave? His eyes needed to adjust again. And he was blinded temporarily again until his eyesight adjusted. So his fellow men believed that his blindness was the result of his escape out of the cave. And they wouldn't listen when he told them about the other reality that he saw. Because for them, what they knew to be true was the shadows, and what they could see in that moment was that he turned blind because he escaped the cave. What does that teach us? What can we learn from this allegory? Sometimes we see the light, we gain new perspectives, we gain awareness. We have aha moments, what we call the coin dropping. And then that means we see the light. We have that wisdom, we gain that wisdom. And once we see that light, we cannot unsee it. We cannot pretend it never happened. Even if we do pretend temporarily, we still know in our hearts that we did see that light. And others who have not seen that light cannot understand our perspective and cannot embrace it and will probably reject it. They might call us crazy. But we know in our hearts that our truth is our truth. And in fact, is our call on how to act on that truth, if we act on it, and how to act on it. And this comes down to personal leadership, how we lead ourselves forward while zooming into ourselves, aligning with our values, checking in to see how we feel when we have different experiences, what it means for us, what it does for us, and then zooming out and placing ourselves in the wider context, be it society, be it the whole universe, the whole cosmos. We are part of it. And that's something that we cannot change. So what we keep as a lesson forward from Plato's cave is that once we see the light, we have a decision to make. What do we do about that? And we come to arise. Now think of ourselves as separated into three selves: the past self, the present self, and the future self. It's like the present self stands between the past and the future. And as time moves along, assuming that it is linear, at least for our purposes now, this present is an interplay between the past and the future. And each of these stages carries a gift for us that is a potential. What does that mean? That means that we can choose to fulfill that potential or not. We can choose to progress, to move forward, to evolve or not. We do have that choice, and I will come back to that. Now, these gifts, what are they? The first gift from the past is that we can learn. The past tells us, do you want to have that experience again, or do you want to have a different experience? Are you okay living like this, or do you want to change things? What can you learn from mistakes and from successes? What can you learn from history? On whatever level, is it political history, social history, medical history, whatever it is, what can you learn? And then when you learn that, what can you take forward and put it into your vision for the future? And visioning is the gift that the future brings. We can look ahead and visualize a world that makes us happy, a world that we feel good living in. And then coming to the present, we create what lies ahead. We can create our future. And that is very, very, very powerful and very empowering at the same time. It does come with a lot of responsibility, but it is our highest potential to create a world that fulfills us, that expresses us, that makes us joyful to live in. In fact, connecting the dots is like the Fibonacci series. When you apply where we stand now with the previous number, we get the next number. So 2 + 1 is 3. Past and present show us the future. What do we need to think at this moment? What does your past teach you that you can encompass into your vision for the future? The answer to that will give us what we can create for the future. So we combine our learning and our envisioning so that we know what to create right now, what to do right now, so that our vision for the future materializes. So what's the point of it all? Deriving meaning and finding purpose. Pablo Picasso is a leader, an art leader, I call him a leader, that I really admire. The meaning of life, he said, is to find your gift, find your talents, find your passions. And the purpose of life is to give them away. Give away, share them with the world around you. Aristotle had said, we are social animals. We are social animals, meaning we exist in social contexts. As far away as we run from other people, we cannot detach ourselves from other people because we are all part of an interconnected universe. And we all have creative power. You know, the sequence, the Fibonacci sequence in terms of the 3 selves, learning from the past, envisioning for the future, and creating in the now is a potential that we all share. So if we all come together and be the change we want to see in the world, we can actually make that happen. Now, let's feel our passion a bit. Let's think, first of all, the journey to talking about our passion starts with meaning. What gives meaning to my life? What gives meaning to my work? What gives meaning to my relationships? What is it that makes my boat rock? What makes it that I am fulfilled in my context, be it my life in general, my job, my profession, my relationships, professional relationships, personal relationships, my family relationships. So we find out, we become aware of what is it that makes our life, our work, our relationships meaningful. And then we adjust our specs, our glasses, if you like. For an extrinsic meaning, we look outside of ourselves and we zoom out. We zoom out on different levels in our community, in our society, in the whole world. And we see the alignments between what makes the world go round for us and what makes the world go round for other people. And then we look within. What is the intrinsic meaning, the meaning inside of us when we zoom in and look at our inner world and align with our values and our wants, our needs, our purpose in life? What is that? How does it make sense for us? we ask ourselves, what drives us forward? What gets us up in the morning? What is it that makes us appreciate life and want to move forward with it? Because we are born to move forward. We're not static beings. Everything flows, everything changes. Every experience you have will have a tiny, a small, a medium, or a large or a huge impact on you. Be it a webinar, be it an encounter, be it a course you do, be it a single experience you have with anyone, you know, having a drink with a friend and having a deep, intense conversation, whatever it is. What drives you forward? What do you enjoy? And then what do you do? And what you do, your actions, is that aligned with your values? Our values define us. They lie at the very core of who we are, of our identity, as individuals and as a collective. So what are my own values? And do I act in such a way that my values are brought to life through my behavior and actions? What is it that gives me joy and makes me feel fulfilled? Now, talking about passion is very important because it's one way of bringing it to life. It's one way of starting to materialize it. And I would love it if we could share now. If you want to share in the chat, what are you passionate about? Let's see. What rocks your boat? What lights your fire? Turning to the chat. What is your passion? I'm not sure if you can, if we can have sound, if you can talk with sound, or if you can only write in the chat, but feel free to share whatever it is that rocks your boat. It could be your job, it could be your family, it could be a hobby. Being in nature. Thank you, Kira. Being in nature, yes, definitely. That's a passion for me too. Nicoletta, I'm passionate about authenticity and daily progress. Yes, yes, I agree with you. Being authentic is very important. Being authentic shows that we are aligned with our values, exactly what I'm talking about. And daily progress, step by step, we move forward. We cannot stay stuck even if we want to. We can resist change for a while, a long time, but it can only make us unhappy. So if we're going to be happy, we need to keep moving forward. So what else do we have? Harish says, to make a positive impact on people and the situation around me. Yes, Harish, I'm right with you. Very much with you there. That is a passion I also share. It's a big one. Creating positive impact around us. Helping others. Thank you, Nessa. Helping others is a big one again. These are all interconnected, as we all are. And to be of value, Natarajan says, to be of value to the society I live in. Yes, we are going to talk exactly about that. Thank you so much for sharing about your passion. Now, in bringing our passion to life, passion being often associated with the heart, we have a debate, a dilemma. Mind versus heart. We usually associate emotions and then passion with the heart, and then logic and reasoning with the mind, or the beautiful depicted brain here. Is there such a debate? Can we accommodate both of them, or do we have to choose? I don't think we have to choose. I think this is a false dilemma. These are parts of a whole. They're not enemies, and as such, they work together. The mind and the heart inform each other. Now, if we look at the organ representing the mind, which is our brain, we live in a world that has told us time and time again that our brain is the boss. Academic intelligence, rational intelligence, known as IQ, is very, very often the criterion for superiority. Our academic system, most of academic system, most of the school systems around the world, not all, but most are in fact built around this principle. You know, that if you have a high IQ, then you will succeed in life. But the more we think about it, the more we realize that that's not enough. Look at the world around us. We have lots of smarts in terms of IQ. But what about emotional intelligence, EQ? What about looking within, zooming in, and then looking without, zooming out of ourselves? Emotional intelligence is basically the awareness I have about myself and how I manage myself, how I manage my emotions. And then the second tenet, the second chapter, is how I perceive, how I become aware of the social surrounding that I have, of the world around me, and how do I manage myself within that, meaning through my relationships. How do I manage my relationships? Now, how can I ignore myself and how can I ignore my relationships in terms of making sense of the world and of myself in it? I cannot. So the brain as boss is something that we can leave behind. My kind invitation to you is to let the brain be a beautiful servant and let the heart be a beautiful master. And I don't mean that the heart is the boss now as such. They work, it's a synergy, they work together. And when I say servant, I don't mean slave. I'm talking about being a leader as offering service. True leadership is not about a king giving orders or a boss giving orders or instructions. True leadership is about enabling others, about sharing our light, about doing the best we can to serve others first. I'm not talking again about ignoring ourselves, because we are part of others. We are part of the community that we serve. That community may be our family, it could be our local club, it could be our neighborhood, it could be our country, it could be anything that we feel part of. And as social animals, we do strive for unity with others. We do have an elusive separatedness. But again, I would say that that would equate with being in the cave, in Plato's cave. The chains that held the prisoners there represent ignorance. The cave, the darkness of the cave represents ignorance. So gaining knowledge and gaining awareness frees us from the shadows that we thought were reality. These shadows represent superficial truth, which is an illusion. We have an illusion and we have reality. We choose our truth. We choose what synergy we will allow between our heart and our mind, so that we see the world as it is, so that we dare to bring the leaders out of us and serve our world. Once we see the light, we cannot unsee it, and that means wisdom. Once we gain wisdom, we cannot go back to being unwise or less wise. So my proposition here is that the dichotomy between heart and mind is an illusion. It's aligned with being in the cave, in chains, in ignorance. And once we see the true potential of uniting the two, allowing them to inform one another and work together, then we reach another level of wisdom and leadership as service. If we think of role models that embodied leadership as service, I could mention Mahatma Gandhi, I could mention Martin Luther King, and many others. So this is important, because we are servants and leaders at the same time. We cannot just be at the top. It's a circle, it's not a pyramid. Now look at this diagram. This is your brain. Inside are the things worth living by. In other words, in our mind, we store our principles. And then this is your heart. Inside are the things worth dying for. Our values, our passions. So I'd like you to think for yourself, what do you live by? What are your principles? What are your beliefs? And then what would you die for? What holds the highest fire for you? What is your biggest passion? You've all shared in the chat earlier. Let me see, we have another, oh, thank you. Oh, we have another response from Regal, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Connecting with the earth and nature and bringing healing to people. This is a wonderful, wonderful passion. So is the passion that you expressed, not only Regal, but everyone, is that something you would die for? And I'm not going to ask you to die for anything. It's just a deep introspection. We are zooming deep within us right now. We want to see what is really our essence. How do our principles and passion coincide? Do they or do they clash? Is there something there that needs our attention? What do I live by and what would I die for? If anyone wants to share anything in the chat at any point, please feel free. So looking at that, our principles and our passion, we come to the Glocal signature. Glocal is a combination of the words global and local, and it signifies the interconnectedness between our local context and our global context, our micro context and our macro context. What I put here is a picture of a skull. Now, philosophers in ancient times had a skull on their desks that signified this phrase, memento mori. It means remember, you will die. And this phrase that accompanied it, which is in Latin, I'm going to attempt to read it. Quid agis prudenter agas et respice finem. Whatever you do, do it wisely and consider the end. Do it wisely. Keep your wisdom. Whatever you do, keep your wisdom. Bring the lessons of the past with you and consider the end. Consider the goal. Consider the future. Past and present lead to the future. Remember the big picture. The big picture is that life, as we know it, has an end. And whatever we do, we should have that in mind so that we have a more meaningful and more fulfilling life. The ancient Greeks cared more about the reputation they had after they died rather than the reputation they had during their life. And they called this hysterophemia. So if we think about our hysterophemia, what could be a beautiful, inspiring hysterophemia? What could be a legacy that we leave behind? Ask yourself, what do you want to leave behind you? What do you want your signature, your imprint to be on the world? What impact do you want to create? Zooming in and zooming out. What do you care about? What do you really love? What do you really love such that you can express that love unto the world within you and unto the world outside of you? Now, wait a minute. It's very nice talking about all these things, but we need to ground ourselves. We need to be realistic. We need to look at our working context. And this is a very, very difficult context at the moment. We have come here together from different sides of the world. Some people are still in lockdown. Some people are facing job loss. We have so many issues in our VUCA world, our volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous world. We don't know what we will see tomorrow. We have the waves, more than one waves of the pandemic of COVID-19. We have a global recession that has started manifesting in different areas of the world more and more. And we have a big climate crisis that we keep forgetting. Let's look at the big picture. Let's remember the big picture. And let's be realistic so that whatever we choose, we ground ourselves in it and we manifest true meaning in our life. I'm going back to the chat. We have a comment from Rega, like, if I could not do my passion, my life would be meaningless. It took me too long to find it. I won't ever let go. Thumbs up for you, Regal. Thumbs up for you. Once you found your passion, hold on to it. Don't ever let go. And now I kindly invite you to think, how can I ground my passion into reality that is enlightened by wisdom, my wisdom, the wisdom I can bring into the world and share it, so that I can invite more and more people to exit the cave, to exit the darkness, to see light rather than shadows. We can face this, even though sometimes it feels like the world is crashing down on us. We can do it because we are all in the same boat. We are all interconnected, and we are all in face of options to learn from the past, to envision a better future for ourselves, and to create that starting right now. Moving on to our Glocal signature, I wanted to talk a little bit about taking responsibility. Taking responsibility comes in 4 levels. Taking personal responsibility is aligned with zooming in, looking within ourselves, and manifesting who we are, being authentic. As Nicoletta said in the comments earlier, being authentic and really allowing ourselves to blossom and to move forward. But we cannot do that without existing in a social context. So we do have communities to think about. And here we should start thinking about the impact we have upon others. It could be, as I said earlier, our family. It could be our colleagues at work. It could be our friends. It could be our local community, our neighborhood. So how do we lead ourselves such that we take personal responsibility, but we also take communal responsibility? And then how do we move to the next level, which is social responsibility? How does my existence, how does my behavior, how does my action affect the society I live in? And if I think about my local context, the society I live in could be my country, but then zooming out, we are all global citizens. We are all part of a global society. So whatever impact I have locally, it will reflect one way or another on a global scale. And whatever happens globally in the same way reflects back to me. The pandemic, COVID-19, is a perfect example. It's happening globally. It's affecting every single individual in different ways. So we see a trickling effect from personal to communal to social to global, and then back. So we take responsibility on different levels, and that, in fact, is liberating. This is a very interesting point that I really wanted to share with you today. When we take responsibility, we allow ourselves to be free. We look at the big picture, we zoom out, we look at the macro, and then we look at the micro, we look within ourselves. And we ask ourselves, if I do this, what consequences will there be? What can I foresee? Drawing from the past, learning from the past, and looking ahead and at the big picture, what can I foresee? What can I estimate? What can I calculate? And then I make an informed choice. I do my research, I gather all the information about potential consequences, the potential impact, not only on myself, but on other people around me. And I make a choice. Now, if I take responsibility for myself, then I'm free to do whatever I like. I always answer to myself, of course, first of all. And I lead myself. And in fact, we lead ourselves all together and individually. I really like that word game here. We lead our ship. We lead our ship. We all have a ship and we lead it. We have a fleet of ships in communities, societies, global society, and we are all captains of our own ship, and we lead them wherever we choose. Whatever happens reflects back on us. So thinking about impact, let's see, how do we activate our Glocal signature? Now, awake, aware, awake, arise is 3 A's. I have another 3 A's here for you in line with that. So when we gain awareness, we acknowledge things. Yes, I see the light. I cannot unsee it. Then we assimilate it. We digest it. We make it part of ourselves. We awaken. Once we see the light, we cannot unsee it. And then we act. There is a need, an inherent need in us to act, to create impact. And here we have another, not 3 A's this time, 3 H's. The head, the hand, and the heart. And these connect with acknowledge, assimilate, and act. We acknowledge in our head. Mentally, we acknowledge things, we make sense of things, but the meaning connects to our heart, where we assimilate the new information. We see if it aligns with our values, with our purpose, with our gifts, with our talents. And then the hands symbolize action, taking responsible, free action. I wanted to put a female role model as well, not just male, to keep the gender balance. I have here Indra Nooyi, a female leader who is a role model. She said, whatever you do, throw yourself into it, throw your head, heart, and hands into it, reflecting what I'm sharing here. It's very important to bring together into a holistic picture everything that makes sense for us. Acknowledging our surroundings, acknowledging the world around us, acknowledging the world within us, acknowledging ourselves, who we really are, acknowledging what makes sense for us, what is our passion, what are our talents, what is our purpose in life, in acting on it, sharing our gifts with the world. Now, what could this really mean in action? Going from local to global and then back from global to local. What can your imprint be? And here I invite you to share in the chat, what are your ideas and what are your actions? Your ideas for action from now on and the actions that you have already been taking in terms of creating impact, bringing alive your imprint, your Glocal signature. We start from the self, yeah. We lead ourselves first. We look within, we zoom in, and then we start zooming out slowly. We look at our home, we look at our social circle, our workplace, a local club, a local NGO or CSO, civil society organization or non-governmental organization. We look at our local community. We look at our society. We look at our global society. We could get involved in a global NGO. And then what are the actions that we can focus on? We can focus on awareness. We can bring awareness to others through our actions, targeted actions, or through education. You know, sharing knowledge is educating others. It could be formal education, non-formal education, informal education, depending on who we are and what our gifts are to share with the world. For example, if you are a teacher, you are raising awareness and you could raise targeted awareness with your class through formal education. Formal education is the structured education that takes place in a classroom, be it a school or a college or a university. It could be non-formal education through experiential workshops, through trainings and seminars and conferences like this, where we experience things and then we make sense of them through non-formal education taking place outside of the classroom. And then informal education is things that we happen to learn without structure and without a specific purpose. For example, if we look at a school setting, what kids share in break time is a formal education, sharing knowledge. Then what is our social media presence? What do we share there? What impact do we create by the noise, if I may say that we create there? What do we talk about? What do we highlight? What do we illustrate? It could be through our volunteering. What is that for me? What does that mean for me? Where can I volunteer? Can I volunteer at a local or a global organization? What can I share? What can I bring there? How can I add value? How can I create positive impact? And through my work. If my work is to be fulfilling for me, it means that my values will be brought to life through the role that I have. For example, if I'm vegan, I cannot work in a slaughterhouse because that would make me depressed and it would make me wither, it wouldn't make me blossom. So what is it that I can do for a living that brings me, the authentic me, to life? How can I give myself permission to be in the world a better player, better in terms of better compared to myself, not to other people necessarily? How can I improve my authentic reality? It could be through different collaborations with other people. It could be from different projects. Now, what do you do? And what can you do starting today to really bring to life your Glocal signature, your Glocal impact? The solution, my suggested solution, is a revolution of love. If we align with our inner values, we feel love for ourselves and for others much more easily. Do what you love and love what you do, not only professionally. Yes, it does go there as well, but most importantly, in just being ourselves, in our actions, in our behaviors. Allow ourselves to be love. And that love embraces the synergy between mind and heart, emotional intelligence, and rational intelligence, and all the kinds of intelligences that we have: musical intelligence, mathematical intelligence, spatial intelligence. Everything is a part of us. Zooming in, we will find everything in each and every one of us. We all have different talents, different strengths, but we're all made up of the same stuff. We all come to this world in the same way, and we all go in the same way. So how can I make my time here matter? How can I make my time here count? What do I want to leave behind me when I'm gone? What's the world that I envision, that I want to live in, that I want to co-create? And how can I allow myself to bring that to life through love? I'm going to the chat again. Regal is sharing, I teach how to activate your confidence frequency through meditation, affirmations, gratitude, vibration, and frequency, as well as using essential oils and crystals. That's fantastic, Regal. Thank you for sharing. Everyone has a different way of doing things. You're doing it through these things, meditation and oils and crystals and gratitude. Other people may be doing it through physical exercise, for example. I can share, my personal trainer makes that happen for me every morning. We do what we love what we do. It's just so simple at the end of the day, even though we seem to overcomplicate things and we do live in a complex VUCA world, but the answer is simple. The solution is simple. Now, moving forward, I'd like you to think of your action forward. What's your biggest takeaway from today's webinar? Decide on one thing you're going to do. Even if you are already doing a few things that create your Glocal signature, what's one more thing you can do? What's one more level you can touch? If you are very good with your inner world, how can you bring that out into the outer world around you, into your local community, to your society, to our global society? How can you support more people to awaken? How can you arise from wherever you are and create an impact. I'm going to pause to go to the chat again. We have another comment from Nicoletta. I coach different age groups with connecting within themselves through empowering self-awareness and enhancing their self-esteem. Wonderful, Nicoletta. Thank you for sharing. Again, we have a different example of how people create their glocal impact. And if we work locally, then how can we make it happen globally? If we work globally, do we forget our local reality? Do we forget our neighborhood? Do we forget our own self? Some people find it easier to focus outside rather than inside of themselves. Let's strive for that balance. And let's allow that balance to yield an action that will change things in a good way. Now think of your biggest takeaway today. Again, feel free to share in the chat whatever you want to share. Make your decision on one thing you're going to do starting today, starting now, right after this webinar. At this point, I'd like to thank you for your participation and invite you to share any comments and any impressions, any decisions, any commitments you have in the chat. If you have questions, I'll be very happy to answer them. And I hope this has been of value to you.
Oh, we've got a comment in the chat. Harish, I love this. My commitment to myself, be conscious of my values and capabilities, be cognizant of the realities around me, be willing to contribute to the betterment of the world. I love that.
I love that too. Yes, wonderful. Thank you, Harish. Really inspiring. Yes, we can all do this together. Yes. We are all interconnected as nature teaches us. Kira shares, I commit to share a moment of gratitude daily with someone. That's wonderful. And I'd love to be that someone one of those days, Kira. Really. Gratitude is a very powerful practice. It reminds us of all the blessings and, in fact, all the lessons that we can take forward. Great stuff. Nessa. Right, okay. Yes, thank you for that. Abhinav shares, I commit to be a more considerate parent. That's amazing, really. Considerate parent, I love that. You know, the local community, your family, is a really important level of reality. Whatever impact you create for the world around you will definitely come through your children. The parenting that you exercise can embody your values and give meaning to your own life, be fulfilling for you. And then whatever you teach your children, whatever you guide your children to do, will reflect into the world and into the future as they grow older and embody their own values and their own truths. Natarajan shares, I commit to help people in need by sharing what I have, like knowledge and my time. I'm currently working in a project towards that. All the best for your project, Natarajan. That's wonderful. I see a wonderful mood here, a wonderful spirit of helping others and aligning with people around us. It's good to remember to zoom out and zoom in again and again and again. It's the eternal cycle of life, the Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail and being reborn continuously, because that's all part of life, the cycle of life. Committing to myself and committing to others is both highly valuable. Let's see if we have another comment. Yes, Nicoletta shares. I commit to enhancing my emotional intelligence and self-awareness and sharing the outcomes with my fellow human beings to create a beautiful balance within us and around us. That's really wonderful. Yes. Wonderful, Nicoletta. Thank you for sharing. Yes, beautiful. Sharing is caring, definitely. And when we share our insights with others around us, we help them awaken. We can help them come out of the cave and see the beauty that is all around us and all within us. Nessa, I think we are good. We had a few comments. Yep, we can wrap up.
Yes, no problem at all. I know everybody has beautiful, busy days. And so if we can give a little time back too, this was an amazing gift. This is everything that, just speaking for myself personally, so aligns with my personal belief system and aligns with everything that I have learned thus far through my own personal growth about understanding my place in the world, which is a big question, like the who am I, right? And
Yes.
And I don't know, what this does for me is just kind of gives me like a really beautiful sense of calm. I think the reminders that we're all incredibly connected, from like the finite molecule up into, galaxies and the ever expanding universe. Like, I know it sounds a little this or that, but I think we've got the right crowd where I think we're all speaking the same language. But for me, I think about that in your beginning video. Like, there's a movie that you may have seen, everybody out there, Gravity, with Sandra Bullock.
Yes.
She's the astronaut. Yeah, she goes out into
Yeah.
space. So that movie, it was a really entertaining movie, but what that did for me, for one, very much made me appreciate having my feet on the ground. Very much made me appreciate that no matter a bad day, I'm not floating off into the nothingness of, or the everythingness of space. But that movie actually really makes me, on a serious note, in a grateful way, remember how small I am, but then also how big I am.
Yes, exactly.
How big I really am, and how big I can be, and all the things that I haven't yet discovered, or my untapped potential, my untapped capacity. I've already learned about myself. I'm pretty certain I have, not physically, but I think I have one of the biggest hearts currently on the earth right now. I'm pretty certain I have the capacity to love everybody.
Fantastic.
And so having these conversations definitely help connect and reconnect with myself and with everybody else. So this was beautiful.
Yes, thank you. If your heart is big enough to encompass the whole world, imagine if we all do that. Imagine if you really, really bring that out into your highest potential and ground it, bring it to life. On this level, on this reality, in yourself, first of all, in your local community, and in society, global society. Just imagine if we really, really embody the values and the love that we are.
Yes, it's been I don't want to say painful lesson to learn. It's really not about the pain. It's not about anything like that. My point is I spent a lot of time playing small with old beliefs and values that weren't my own. And so being able to shift from that, and accepting the fact that love is my greatest gift and the place that I operate from. And now it's reminding myself and stretching myself, how big can I play today? How much bigger can I play today? Even in the littlest moments, if there's an opportunity to stretch myself and reach for something different, whether it's a feeling or an experience or something, But I'm building those patterns within my consciousness, within my subconsciousness, to continue to stretch, to continue to reach at the moment of discomfort, to decide to play a little bit bigger than I did last time I met that discomfort. So all of it is just, again, it's all connected.
Yes,
So
definitely. I love what you said about, being yourself and not what you've told, yeah, what others say you should be, or what you've been told you should be, or what you've been told you are, because we do get affected by the way we grow up and where we grow up and what we keep hearing. If someone is, for example, bullied for a long time, then there needs to be a breakthrough to break free from that, because we do incorporate what we hear into our own understanding of ourselves and of the world around us. It's got to do with the conditioning, yeah, and the multi-level conditioning that we all go through in growing up.
mm-hmm.
So finding our own authenticity, finding our own self, looking within, zooming within to every detail, every moment, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
is really important. And
Yes.
remembering that in timelessness, we are finite. In this life, we are finite. So it's important to make every minute count. We are here today, we're not here tomorrow. I don't know where we will be, but we won't be here. So as long as we're here, what impact can we create for this world that we co-own and that we are all part of? Thank you, Nessa, for sharing. That was beautiful.
You're welcome. And thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Everybody, I'll give you a little time back for your day. Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, stop in the next couple of hours. We'll have another great session for you, but otherwise join us in the conversation in our LinkedIn group. Thank you again, Christina. I really, really appreciate it. And I'll be sending you those pictures of Door County in a little bit.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being
you.
here today. See you later. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.